First of all, I've been looking for an Akashic record for reader for quite some time. Janine and I were excited um, to hear of your experience and your application process and your interview with Coco, and we're excited to share you with the audience here tonight. So, folks, thank you so much for joining us this evening. We are currently triple casting on YouTube, Rumble, and X. We're going to be sharing with you what is the Akashic field, how all of this came to be, how perhaps Alexandra was guided by universe to get into this particular field of service for humanity. And we're going to also share with you the reading that she had with Janine over the weekend, and how Janine processed that information and what she wants to share with you guys this evening. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us this evening. Let us know in the live chat where you guys are watching from this evening, and we'll start now. So, Alexandra, as I said before, I think the audience members here would love to connect and understand a little bit better your background and how universe conspired to bring you from the normal 3D world into now being an Akashic reader full time. What happened? What's going on?
So I think I wasn't ever in one side or the other. Since I was little, I felt that I was in a secret sort of mission. Like I was by myself a lot, playing by myself under the tables actually at my granny's house, and I didn't really like to hang out in the parties. I am from Venezuela, so it's a very party-ish country. We like to celebrate things. And I was always kind of not necessarily introvert, but I prefer to be by myself or with people I trust. So along my, let's say, teenage years, I began to have these encounters at nighttime where I would feel presence and I would see presence. And my brothers, who always bully me and joke with me, they used to give names to the ghosts or spirits. So it was really fun at home. I never felt like I wasn't allowed to talk about it. So over the years, I felt I was in two sides. So I wasn't sure. I didn't know how to explain what I experienced underneath or within. I didn't have the cognition to do it. But little by little, and I know this was guided for sure, I had drops of information that I learned to see, to navigate better when I experienced it. For example, when I met astrology, for me it was like, whoa, this is huge. This is a place where I can understand the rich nutrients of my wisdom under inside of me and use codes to understand better. But it wasn't really until something really big happened. I I was a journalist back in my country. I studied, I loved it, and I've been always communicating. Now I'm communicating from one side to the other. Back then, I was working and doing some culture notes. So I realized that I needed to get out of a situation where I felt in prison. I was working in London, I was working in different places. And in that area of my life where everything became chaotic and dark, something really huge happened. I was in the countryside in Ireland, in the middle of nowhere, where nothing, there aren't even lights. I was asleep in one room, and my partner was downstairs because he was snoring too much that night. And I had one of those lucid dreams I usually have. It's sort of something is really happening, and this is real life, but I can't quite grasp it. You know those dreams, lucid dreams you have. Well, everybody has. So I had one of those, and I dreamed about this little girl called Uke, and she had huge eyes, and she was in this corner in this beautiful futuristic city, and I felt attracted to her, and I said, I spoke to her telepathically because I wasn't using my voice. I remember asking her, what are your favorite animals? And she showed me the stars. And then I thought, oh, this is really interesting. And then she started to talk to me saying, I was once a Max Mara and a babosa. And then I understood in that moment, it's as if the information landed and I understood everything about the message, that you could incarnate not only here on Earth as a human being, but also you could incarnate in different civilizations or races or places in the galaxy. So I began to understand that in that moment during the dream, then I felt people around me and I kind of opened my eyes and sit up, and I was in this dark place. I could only hear my heartbeat. I swear, it was the only thing I could hear. And then I saw these blue lights coming in and lighting the lamp, the shell, the things around in the living room, in the room where I was, and then curled and left and make this kind of funny, sweet curl like in the movies. And I was petrified, I was scared, but I was so grateful because I could finally touch, almost like touch, what I always knew. So it was a confirmation to me that there is something else. You need to go and knock the door and find out what is that is something else. And I did. So little by little things were put in my path, such as the Akashic Records, my first experience with a channeler. For me, that was another window of information in which I could finally almost touch what I always felt, what I always kind of knew, but I couldn't find, let's say, a dogma, a book to reassure me. And so I started to practice every single day, practice every day, study, listen to other channels, talk about the Akashic Records, but mostly was trusting what I knew, what I see, what I feel. That has been my practice ever since. So I studied in a lovely school of light. It's called School of Light in Spain, and it was just a little online course. And because I like to do things by myself, I said, okay, I'm going to dedicate 50 minutes every single day for all of this time to understand this language. And I was trying to close my eyes and trying to see things. And then I remember that day and that moment in that room where I finally dropped it. And I said, you know what? I'm just going to have fun. I'm just going to have fun. And the moment I intentionally said that to myself, I started seeing. Not with my physical eyes, but with my inner eye, perceiving, feeling. And then little by little, like a little ant, every day I would open my records and feel and understand the language, almost like creating a symbolism of feelings, sensations, visuals, so I would understand how to allow that information that is subtle, because it's subtle language, light language, ether, to land in me and to land in my mind, that is the human being limited mind. So that's how I still do it. I practice so much that I found this rhythm within me, this sort of trust within me. And when I have an Akashic Records reading, when the person is in front of me, or sometimes the person isn't in front of me, and I receive feedback and confirmation, that gives me reassurance as well. That's one of my my anchors, that I feel okay. Many things that I have connected with when I enter the records of someone with their permission is precise, is truthful, is meaningful, is life-changing for that person, and that is what it really matters, because that's what my guides who are here always show me, is the connection. The Akashic Records is not only about finding out who I was in my past life and what was I doing. It's about remembering who you truly are, because we think we are just Alexandra, but no, we are huge. So remember and
Okay,
reconnecting
okay,
with.
don't go too fast. Don't go
Sorry,
too fast.
sorry.
We're gonna get into all of that, the description of the Akashic and how we can use it moving forward. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you, but you already gave Jenny and I quite a bit to unpack here. I want to move a little bit backwards here before we come back forwards. You talked about these feelings as a young person, having these experiences or these other entities around you. Can you just take a pause there as well? Explain who those entities were, who you thought they were at that time, and how did that come about? How did that make you feel? Did you feel that they were there to share information? Did you feel that they were there to perhaps upgrade your programming? How did that come about, and what age were you specifically at that time?
There are different ones. So there are all sorts of beings. Like we are so many on Earth. Imagine how many there are in the universe. So there are so many. So let's say I would see, for example, at home entities that were just around, like what you call ghosts, just around. So I was able to kind of feel them, see them. But also my guides, who are the evolutive guides that everybody has got, and mine were in charge of guiding me into the right places, into the right people, and they could disguise into people. And this is something really funny because it's like in the movies. They could um, point out to the person you're speaking to tell you something that clicks or triggers something within you. So they are angels, they are guides, they are like what you call the guardian angels. And that's what I feel I have. I have these four friends who know exactly who I am, who know who I have been here and in many other incarnations, and they provide me the information I need in the moment I need. And that is how beautiful the Akashic records are, or our guides are. Because you can't just receive all this information and then what are you going to do with all of this? That's not the right way. You need to get a drop of information, like one drop of rain, that you allow to nourish you, and then you receive more, and then you receive more, because sometimes the mind is like an umbrella that doesn't allow the rain to nourish you. So that's
Right.
why I feel that I have been guided little by little in different moments of my life from my guides, who are my protectors, guardians, evolutive guides, to open the channel, basically to open the channel and allow the service to come alive.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. It appears to me, having had the interview with you and Coco, and now based on your introduction and what you're sharing this evening, that you were very much fated and guided by universe to be here this evening and doing this type of work. I'm curious about that blue orb incident that came into the room. Would you mind if we asked Janine to maybe pull some cards on that and see what
No, I
perhaps
love
was
it.
behind
Thank you.
that event? Okay.
Yes.
Janine,
Oh my God.
you're,
Thank you so much.
okay.
Just
Janine, you're first. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
just to confirm, it wasn't a sphere of light. It was like a big light outside of the house that enlightened the room inside through the window, and then entered and left back through
Okay.
the window.
Okay. Okay. That's a good visual. Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay.
Thank you.
Janine, your first reaction here, we'll get into later your reading with her, with Alexandra, but right now, your first impression also in terms of the evolution of her as a child, getting all these experiences and doing what she's doing now. Any good feeling here as to perhaps what universe wants to say or what you think the audience needs to know before you do a poll here on this specific event also?
I just think it's amazing that she knew, even as a small person, a young child, that there was it's like her mission. And it might not have been explained or anything, but it sounds like she was open to it and always knew there was something beyond what was going on in her life, her family life. And I felt that too, just something just beyond your grasp. And then, unfortunately, not everybody gets those big visions. You were talking about that vision, and you said everybody gets them. They don't know. I've talked to lots and lots of people, and they don't get. Some people don't get those, but people, very specific people, do get those visions, and they do. They take you. They give you the ingredient you need. And when you were describing that, that was, yeah, pretty profound. Yeah.
It became very evident the first time I spoke with Alexandra, and also for the audience members who are just following along now, who just perhaps finished watching Shannon, the Beyond Healing episode. I learned about Alexandra through Shannon as well. That's the connection that we have, also bringing her to the Beyond Mystic community. So I'm sure that if you guys in the chat love Shannon, you're absolutely going to love Alexandra. And yes, I agree with the comment on chat. Alexandra seems very honest. That was one of the main characteristics also during interview that I felt very strongly. Both Coco and I actually felt that very strongly, the way you were expressing yourself in the interview process. Okay, Janine. So we're looking at this blue light incidence, entity formation that came from outside into our house. What was that all about? What can we get there?
First card we got was Judgment, which is like a wake-up call. And then the Chariot. So it was urgent and urgently wanted you to get on mission more specifically. So it wasn't like too much sort of thinking about it and mulling about it in the past. And it was like your higher self was like, okay, you got enough to start. You got to get on this. Take a step. And like there's an urgency to these two cards, and they're really intense. And this is they're going to help you. So I think that entity or energy was assuring you from the spirit realm that you had a lot of help with this. And I think you just need to imagine it again, and it'll be right there with you. When I was getting on my path spiritually, the vision of a wolf came. It was a big gray sort of black wolf, but I never technically saw it. And it would shuffle down what sounded like a hill with lots of leaves on it. And it would like crackle down this hill like a wolf. I knew it was a wolf coming down a hill, but I didn't see it literally. And it would sit in front of me spiritually and teach me things. And I feel like this blue light, or this entity, this energy that visited, it's available to you if you call it back or recall it. Yeah, you can recall or call upon it. And it strengthens the work you do, but it was calling you to action.
100%. It was a wake-up call.
Fascinating. Thank you. Oh, sorry, guys. We do have a bit of a difficulty with the connection with Alexandra. There's a storm.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. We can still hear you, but there's a little bit of echo here and there. So I'm trying to mute our mics when we're not speaking, as to not create echo for the audience members. Okay, Janine. At this point here too, I'd like you to do a second poll. This has all been divine guidance for us as well. As you and I have discussed with the audience over the last couple of years, we were looking for someone to be able to share, connect into the Akashic Records for audience members, and it never really came to be. A lot of people applied, but we just never had that feeling of moving forward with any candidate until now. Can we ask the cards, universe, why now? Why this connection was made to happen? Of course, we can thank Shannon for making the introduction, but it's more than that. Something is happening in the energetic field to maybe where humanity as a whole is reaching a little bit higher into the Akashic field as well. And they're getting attuned to the fact that many people throughout history have been able to connect to this and use this information for the betterment of humanity. And that this is a tool that everyone is able to reach, and perhaps having that first reading, understanding, and going into their soul connection might help them move forward here, as we are all moving into a brand new territory here on the planet. So I'm curious as to the why now, the timing of universal timing. Janine.
Well, that's interesting. You're saying we're all like you said, the words moving into, and it's exactly what that card talks about. So we're going into new territory as a community, as a humanity maybe, and with a more tempered or healed vision of what is real, and a more realistic, at least some of us, idea that at least we don't know what's true and what isn't, at least, right? And we know that we have to check in with our higher self and be more discerning, intuitive, and we can't just somebody with from officialdom used to be where we go to. That was humanity's go to. Certainly in my parents' day, anybody with a white doctor coat on was completely listened to at all times. And my if my mom saw a priest or anybody dressed like a nun or whatever, all like she gave them her full attention. Now it's literally like this audience anyway, likely the opposite, where officialdom have lost all of their cred. Like in fact they have to earn their way. For me it's been like that for quite a while, but they would have to earn their way uh, like anybody, just because you're wearing a certain uniform. In fact, you're more suspect probably at this point. Okay, so we're going into that kind of territory, and we're going to need this. So everything's changed, the horizons changed, the fog's lifted. That's in the past, the fog's lifted. We've lost a lot of people too. So a lot of people have gone on, and there's a lot of wounded. So walking wounded, that's coming. I feel like that's the normies waking up to everything that's happening. There's huge disruptive. I feel like there's events right around the corner here, or one in particular that could be a bit of a gut punch here. And we've got the King of Wands. I feel like, of course, it's eventually going to be for the better of humanity, but there's some pain to go through still. And I feel like this is a really good time to have all the healers on board and get everybody as equipped with their inner knowing on mission. If they're on a mission they need to hear more about, or if they need to understand something. And I'll talk a little more about how it sharpened my mission up, maybe having that reading with you, Alexandra. Yeah, so I feel like we need all of us spiritual warriors. We need to be fine tuned and using all the tools, and this is one of them.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Janine. Now, Alexandra, let me just unmute the microphone here too for you as well. Leave the card there for just a moment, Janine, as well, because I see the Tower card moment, suggesting, as you're saying, we might have a gut punch here coming along. If you look at the Cliff High data, it seems that we're going to have quite a few of those here in 2026. And as we were saying during the interview process with Alexandra, we have so many things hitting us from every direction right now that finding our path and our footing is perhaps even more difficult than ever before. So having access either through Alexandra or through meditation or through your own connection with the Akashic Records is another tool in your toolkit to kind of navigate all of this, not just for yourself, but also for your friends and family, of course. So let's start here also. So Akashic Records, this is just a Google definition here. I want you to chime in on this. So let me just read this first for the audience. The Akashic Records are considered a metaphysical, non-physical, and spiritual library or archive that stores every thought, emotion, word, and action from every soul, past, present, and potential future, derived from the Sanskrit word akasha, meaning ether, In your terms, what is it that you're connecting to? What is this concept of the Akashic field and the Akashic Records? How do you explain that to your clients when you're doing sessions? Just to hear it from you and how you connect to that terminology, Alexandra.
So I would say something first. The reason why it's explained as a library is because it's easier for our mind to understand where data is held. For us, the concept of library is, all right, that's wisdom, knowledge. And everything is made of symbolism, and this is one. So for me, in my experience, it's an energy field that you connect to when you tune yourself in the frequency of that field. And for me, isn't a number. For me, isn't something that I've learned myself, which is the connection with them. And when you access the Akashic Records for yourself or for someone, you get to the purest part of you or that person. The way that I have learned it is through the perfect device that we have, which is the heart. Because the heart it holds the end and the beginning of you. So when you enter the heart, you enter the wisdom of your soul, which is all the memories of your soul in this incarnation, in other incarnation. And when you enter the guides, the keepers, as I call them, the masters of the Akash, they will show you whatever it is that you need to learn about yourself or about a situation in order to grow in that spiral or evolution that you are on as a soul and as a person on earth. So they will provide exactly the ingredient, like Janine said earlier, the perfect ingredient for you to understand. It's like a sort of shift. And what happens in the session is that you not only connect mentally with the information and perhaps emotionally with the information, you open a part of you energetically. So your mind catches up with the information days before, weeks before, sometimes months before. Yesterday, for example, I received a message from someone that I did a session for in September, and she was saying, it's only until now I truly understand what you meant. And everything that you said is exactly what happened. I now understand. And it's like that. So it's really interesting because the opening is only the beginning of the magic that happens. You reconnect with parts of you. You become more invigorated, full of passion. You at least understand situations with family members, with things at work, within yourself. It's a place where you find wisdom from your own memories. It's almost as if you're remembering, oh, right, of course, I was doing this in a past life. It makes sense now. So it's like adding pieces to your own perfect puzzle.
And also having an interpreter, I think, is very useful. I spoke to Janine quite extensively after her reading with you this weekend, and her first reaction was, wow, Alexandra is downloading and channeling and communicating in a universal wisdom kind of language that is very different than astro or tarology or some of the mediumships around there, and it takes a little bit of getting used to. Can I have you share that experience, Ginny? Now you're reading. First of all, how did you set up the reading? Was there anything specifically going into the reading that you were wishing Alexandra to help you pull from the Akashic record? And how was that interaction, seeing Alexandra connect and then deliver some of this universal guidance, like I said, in this very different language that we're used to getting? Explain that process for the audience, Janine. Oh, hold on, Janine. Hold on, I muted you. There you go. Go ahead.
I'd like to say that I prepared, but I didn't. And it was early in the morning on a Saturday. And I wasn't like thinking ahead of time, like, and I like to go into things pretty open-minded. But I wasn't even thinking about, I've got a reading today. I've got an Akashic Records reading. I didn't even remember, actually. I mean, I remembered that I had to do that, but I wasn't thinking about it at all. So that's probably a good way to drop me into something. And then now I'm face to face with Alexandra, and her energy is very, I get a mother love energy, I gotta say, nurturing, like very like Two of Cups in the tarot cards, like unconditionally loving. So it's just you can feel it right away, even through the screen. Like, I never met her in person, but yeah. So
it set the tone for the reading in a big way.
Set the tone for sure. Yeah. And then the language. So didn't know what was I to bring questions, or I hadn't even thought about it. So I didn't have any questions prepared. And she guided me just with a little bit first. I can't remember the very beginning, how we got into it. Oh, I know, a guided meditation. That was it. And then, so that was really interesting. And right away, I do respond really well to guided meditations. And I was in the room she described, and yeah, so that part went really well. And then when it came time, like after she had done telling me some things, she asked me if I wanted to ask anything, and I didn't think I'd be able, like I was kind of surprised in a good way. It's like, oh, wow, I get to ask something. Whoa, that's so exciting, because I've had Akashic records before readings, and never did I get to ask questions, maybe one or two at the very end. But I never felt like that was something I could do. So I was quite excited, in a way, to go, okay, I can ask questions. And my main concerns right now are kind of like the work I'm doing. Am I on the right track? And that was a really interesting. She described it fascinating. Like it wasn't the language I was expecting. So expect the unexpected. When she's speaking, and if you don't mind, I'm going to talk like you're in a third person, if you don't mind. When she's speaking, it's like it's not really what you expect. Like she's not being analytical or literal, which is awesome. She's speaking from the spirit world. And the description took me out there, and I could visualize what she was saying, but it didn't intellectually make sense at first. So she was describing this grid I'd been creating for lifetimes, and that the grid, because I've been working at it, and now days later thinking about it, it just triggered all this thinking and thinking about it. It makes way more sense. I'm a super tenacious about my mission, and I've been on it for lifetimes, and I don't divert from it. You guys probably know that if you've been watching me for years. Like, I will admit when I've been off track, and I'll bump myself over, and I try to keep to the most truth I can find, but I'm always on mission, like 100%, actually to a detriment to personal relationships.
You're unapologetically 100% on mission all the time.
1,000 on mission.
Yeah.
So what she was describing was somebody who'd spent lifetimes creating the knowledge that I now share. And it was awe-inspiring. It's like, whoa. And that it attracts, that's why people want to listen, the ones that do. Because really, why would they listen to this lady, who reads tarot? Like, who cares? Like, what's she talking about, right? But I can attract listeners, and that's why. It's because my soul essence has been working on this stuff for a lifetime. So I might appear a certain way, and not like some big celeb or whatever, but I definitely I got that underlying energy when I want to have it, and I knew what she was talking about. But the language she described it in was fascinating, and it was kind of like dream language. But then it came time to ask about, and right away I went to my kids. Okay, because I have adult kids, but I'm crazy about my two kids, obviously. Like, I'm not going to say everybody's crazy about their kids, because they're not everybody is. We've been reading the Epstein files. Not everybody's crazy about their kids. Anyway, but I'm absolutely crazy about my kids. They're, huge love for me, and I asked about my daughter, and whoa. So that's when I knew, okay, this woman, she nailed Raven, and Raven's really hard to understand. She's almost impossible, even for me. I spent so far her whole lifetime trying to figure that girl out. And Alexandra put it in, and I'm going to share this, okay? And Raven will forgive me for sharing this, because, she's amazing. But she said, you have to circle around, because Raven came here, and I don't think she said this part, but I added this part because I know this about Raven. not trusting anybody. She doesn't trust anybody. She came here. I think she was in the, I think she could have been Marie Antoinette or in her court and got her head lopped off. Okay. In those times. So Raven has no practicality with money. She manifests everything she needs, though, trust me. And she has huge decadent taste. She's fascinating, like kind of on a beer budget. Somehow she manages to like, she's fascinating, and no understanding of all the practical things that I came here. I got lots of understanding about, okay, how to get things to happen on the earth plane, but she just assumes that they'll just manifest. And somehow she does actually attract exactly what she wants and needs. Okay. But she doesn't trust anybody. And it's probably from a lifetime like that. And then you have to circle around her. And finally in her, because she's very artistic, creative, and a writer, and 24/7's working on art and writing. And then she opens the door. She's living in her little world. She has her whole own world that she lives in. Then she opens the door and lets you in if you're so lucky, but you have to just keep loving from the outside and loving from the outside. And then she opens up the door and lets you in the first room. And if you get in that first room, like, wow, so
you're golden.
People love Raven when they meet her, but she almost never gets to know anybody on purpose. She's like, I'm not interested. She has her whole own little world that she lives in, and it's fascinating. She creates beautiful art with it. And her husband's in her inner sanctuary room, obviously, and maybe her best friend, Winona, who just had the baby there. And then I'm in one of the fronter rooms. Like, it literally took me this long as her mother to just even get in the front room with that girl. Yeah. But wow, when you get to even be in that room, she gives her heart and soul the amount of love. So she can't really open up and let everybody in because she's too loving. Does that make any sense? Anyway, I'm going to cry because it's exactly her. She's exactly that. This woman described it. Sorry.
Don't cry, Janine. Do you want to fill in the gaps a little bit there, Alexandra? Let Janine get her emotions. How was that reading for you and hearing that feedback now from Janine? How does that make you feel, Alexandra?
It's now I understand even more why the masters give exactly what the person needs in order for the own person make up the whole map. Because it's not about knowing exactly what I have to do. It's about discovering what I come here to do. So I gain confidence, self-power or empower, and excitement. We come here to have fun. Some of us choose difficult dynamics. But when I listen, for example, this sort of testimonial, it only they show me more, so I can see even more, because the more open the person is in their mind and in their heart, the more information they can receive. So the more information the masters provide. So it's very beautiful how you as well add on all of these reasons. Oh, that's why she was born like this. Oh, that's why. And for Raven later as well. It's exciting, moving, and reassuring.
Can I ask you to explain the process of these readings? Janine explained there, you kind of guided her into a meditation. You set the tone with this very loving, firm, soothing energy. I think that exudes from you over the camera. People are feeling it now in the live chat. But what can people expect? There's a few questions in the chat like, well, how does one do that? How do we connect? How do we bring our frequency there? And how can they help also during a session with you to get the maximum out of it? Like, describe the typical session, the 1 hour session right now. For the people who've never done this, what does it look like? Start there, describe that.
The first thing to know is that the moment you decide to do the booking and you book it, your heart opens and things start to change. I have been told this many times when, for example, a client texts me and says, I book a session with you next week. magic is already happening because you are opening, you're surrendering. You're like, all right, you know what? Whatever it is, I'm here to receive it. So that's the first step. As soon as you book, your heart opens. You're preparing yourself mentally. I also like prior to session, the person to write their questions because this is the easiest way for our mind to allow the information to land and to organize the information. And also because when you are in the records, when you are in that moment, everything becomes so wow and high that you forget what were the questions. So if you have them written down, it's better. That's the preparation. The moment of the session is highly guided. We're never alone. It's not just Janine and me, it's her legion of guides, the masters of the Akash and my guides. All everybody helping. So in that moment we have an energetic platform that I like to call the platform of love. And it's because you enter this, it's almost like you enter this heart, your own personal intimate room where only exclusive people and light beings come. So you're ready to understand more of you. I guide the person into a sort of guided meditation, and every single time is different. The only thing that remains the same is me guiding the person into that portal of light, which is the heart. But every session is different because the moment I open the channel, they show me many images to make the person feel peaceful, to make the person feel protected. So everybody has certain symbolism. For example, if for Janine, for example, feeling around the grass and smelling the grass makes her calm down, that's what they are going to show her. So that's the beginning. I'll help them create this sort of trust from the divine beings, and the heart is open. Once the heart is open and they allow me in, I ask, can I come in? And they allow me in, I see everything at once. So I say a prayer, which is the prayer I use. It's an official prayer, but that prayer is really just for me to say words and put my monkey mind saying words. Meanwhile, all of these flashbacks are coming, and they find the right first image or the right first message that comes along. So when the prayer is said, they masters will provide the first piece of information, which usually is one of the most important ones. The first message is something that needs to land in you in order for your growth, in your harmony, in your expansion. And then after that, you get to ask one by one the questions that you need in order for your growth. There are many sort of questions that you can ask. And it's important that when you write them down before the session, you really, really are honest about it. For example, why do I struggle so much with my partner? Or why do I happen to live in this country? Or why did I land in this family? Or what can I do? How can I be helped to find a different job? Different things. So you can ask anything you want. You can ask, why is your dog your dog? Why do you have a cat? Anything. And everything has a role in your life, and you are a role in someone's life too. So this is more or less what happens. You get into this sort of conversation, and what I do is that I receive the information and channel it, and just express the information in the way they show me. Like Janine said, they show metaphors as messages, and they have explained me why. I always wonder at the beginning, I was like, oh, this is a bit weird. And they explained, they show metaphors because they don't change. They're timeless. So you could go back and go further 2 years in the future and then come back and listen and still get even more information than you got the first time.
Yeah.
So metaphors really, really help. Sorry, I can't hear you.
Sorry, yeah, I was muting myself. Yeah, a few people are referring to the echo in the room. There's a little bit of a storm where Alexa is, and there's a window shutter also making noise that's creating echo. We apologize for that, guys. We're doing the best that we can. In the meantime, I'll try to mute Janine and myself when Alexa is speaking so you can hear her properly. And of course, if you watch back later, you'll see the transcripts with the closed captioning if you want to read it after the show as well. Now, so on the website right now, you're offering two different styles of readings. I had Alexa Laura in the chat 2 seconds ago wanting to know the difference between the two and which one would you recommend first. So on one hand here, you have the Akashic reading, and you also have the Arcturian Akashic healing session. Can you describe the difference between the two first, and then answer also Lakeside Laura's question in terms of which one would you recommend first, depending perhaps on somebody's circumstance? Let's get into that a little bit also.
Thank you. Yes, it's a good question. The Akashic Records session is more like looking for clarity and guidance. I am ready to surrender and look to guidance in my soul. And you have questions and you want to know things, and you probably are stuck in a little bit in things around your life, and you feel like you want to move on, but you don't feel fragile or you don't feel necessarily vulnerable. The Akashic healing, on the other hand, is when you feel stuck, when you feel sad, when you feel things don't go the way you want to, when you feel that you need help. That's when you book an Akashic healing. And the reason why it's an Arcturian Akashic healing is because I do it in the platform of love of the Akashic Records, so I can see what happened, what is the memory that is blocking your energy in the roots chakra, when that happened, and why is it Arcturian? Is because they are Arcturian light beings from the collective of the rose, who are a feminine sort of energy that is healing, are the ones helping me releasing that information. Almost like a thread of light that is being released out of the systems, and they know best how to reset and rebalance you, like our systems, our human being systems. So that is the difference.
Okay, very good. That's very well said. Cindy in the chat was also asking, yes, I'll get back to you in a second, Justine. Can we use this session, the healing session, also for depression? How does that tie in, and how have you experienced that with some of your clients before?
I have, for example, a client, and she's a therapist, and she works with people with alcohol problems or addictions. And when she had a session with me, she realized that it could really help them. So she started sending those patients that she had with many sorts of addictions. And they had no background about spirituality. So they come in and they're like, okay, I'm here, I need help. And their surrender to be helped is what helps, what allows the healing to occur. A person that has depression clearly needs energetic help, movement. What happens is that little emotional traumas, memories from different lives, get stuck in the nadis system. So we have like cables in our body of energy, and they get stuck. And sometimes that doesn't let us continue in the expansion and the evolution that we're going in our destination. So during the healing, you identify what are the patterns, the moments, the people, everybody involved in that emotional trauma. And you're able to see it, bring visibility to it through the Akashic Records, what happened, and apply love, healing, acceptance, and release it. After the session, usually the person might have what is called a healing crisis. I don't like too much using that word, but that's what happens. the body reacts. So people get sick, have a little fever, headache, or sleep for 10 hours. So the body responds. And maybe a week later, the person begins to feel like, all right, I'm getting more a sense of clarity and purpose. So I do recommend this for someone who is in a, yeah, in a depression sort of state.
Okay,
It has a lot.
very good. Janine, let me get back to you too. You raised your hand either for the previous segment. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just okay. So just so people get a more overview. So I do remember now that we're talking about it, what she first said, and I won't go into all the details, but she first gave me a vision before I asked anything, which I thought was at the beginning, I didn't understand it until the very end. Then I understood it. So you need patience with the whole session, and you need to really like let it sink in later, because then it all starts making sense. But anyway, so some kind of energy came forward, and it was a kind of a romantic or joyful, fun-loving entity, male. And they were almost like teasing me, almost, because I am pretty shut down in the romantic department. And then later at the end, like long story short, at the very end, she said that I think is why that energy came forward, because at the very end, I think I did ask about romance. Because by the way, I asked several questions. It wasn't just about my daughter, and the several, including about my son. And I got a really great way to understand my son out of it. Like, I was worried that he was going down the woke path, and they totally, then I didn't even tell her any of that. I just said, what about my son? And right away, the guides totally nailed that one concern I had about him. Anyway, and I won't say all the details about that because I'll probably start crying. The romantic thing came back at the end, and basically it had come at the beginning, because that's something they wanted to say to me, to open up more too, because I've been pretty shut down. So like, even if you didn't ask it, sometimes they got advice, obviously, right? Yeah. And then she left me with something at the very end, and it was a book, the Book of Merlin, which is really interesting. Because I absolutely work in magic, but just natural magic. And in fact, if you look at my chart, I've been a magic worker for lifetimes. And just to remind myself that get out of the 3D world and to remember you're magical. Like, I know I am. So
That's
anyway,
very.
I really appreciated the reading. It was awesome.
I have to say also, Coco's not here, and I won't get into her personal details also,
Yeah.
but Alexandra was nice enough to read Coco during the interview process. And there was some tears there as well, and it was very powerful too. She read it right on, and perhaps Coco will have Alexandra on the Coco show later this week or next week, and she'll share that with you guys too. So I recommend you tune into that episode if Coco wants to share, because that was also very powerful moving forward. I saw somebody here, Lynn says, I just booked my session. Yay, the discount did not work. If that happened, please just email Sarah. We'll go ahead and we'll refund the 10% discount. We just launched a project today. Sometimes it takes a little bit of while for the marketing aspects to promulgate in the back. It should be working. Beyond Mystic, one word should give you the 10% off. But if for some reason tonight, guys, when you're booking, just email Sarah. Of course, we're going to honor that. Going back just on the technical side of the bookings as well, Alexandra was saying that it's very helpful also when you do your booking to provide some questions to prepare yourself, because when you're getting the reading, you might be a little bit more emotional and forget some of the questions. So if you write them down ahead of time, we've made that happen for you as well. So when you click on the Akashic reading and you start the booking process, let's just pick a date for the fun of it here, and we continue. You will see that we've provided a space here to write at least 3 questions. You can write more, but you can write them right here during the booking process as well. So you don't have to think about it later on. It'll all be sent to Alexandra here for your booking as well. Okay, there was a few questions earlier today in the chat. Explain the language. Yeah, so that's one of them, Carol. both Alexandra and Janine explained that there's this universal wisdom that is coming through the Akashic, but it's in a different tone and in a different way than one might expect. Who wants to tackle that one first? Janine, do you want to share a little bit more details on that? And then we'll ask Alexa also what she feels about when she's channeling, even though it doesn't necessarily come out the way you would expect it to in normal psychic terms. Go ahead, Janine, you first.
Well, for instance, if a psychiatrist worked with me for years and years and years, listening to all my stories about Raven, okay, they'd probably come up with a really wordy explanation about why she's the way she is. And the description coming from the spirit world cut through all of that intellectualism and showed a visual. So Alexandra channels a visual, and it's like using way less words, and it's not talking to your ego. She talked to my soul and heart, who knows Raven, right? My intellect thinks all these things about it, but my soul knows her, and my heart knows her, and she talked to that. Yeah. So the language talks to your soul and your heart, but not your intellect.
Well said. Thank you, Janine. And thank you, Janine, for being such a good support and sharing this also live with everyone. I'm sure it's not easy. And the audience obviously appreciates your honesty and your candidness also.
Yeah.
So, Alexandra, back to you as well. When you're in this channeling process and you're connected and you're in that frequency with the Akash, how would you explain that language as it comes through you and you share that with the audience members? What would you say?
Okay, I'm going to give you an example. Would that be okay? And not only an example, this is a message for all of you.
Okay.
Would that be okay?
Yes.
Because
absolutely.
I believe that the experiencing it helps you understand the language. Because I can tell many things about the language, which is subtle and light. So this is what they say. They say, all of you who are here now and will be later have always believed that you were the black swan in your families, at work. You were graceful but different. Now you here together understand that you are not a black swan, that you are a rainbow, colorful swan, that you are unique and you're allowed to be unique here in this place where we're all gathering together. And they say, look at your own wings and look at the feathers and the colors and how different you are from each other, and yet how similar you are to each other. This is the celebration of uniqueness. And they say, welcome to the Akash. You understand?
Yes, that was wonderful. Yes, now I can see what Janine meant by that. That's wonderful. It speaks at a very deep level, and I think this is what this. Oh, sorry. There's a bit of a delay. Go ahead. There's a bit of delay. Go ahead.
This message will land deeper later in a few days and months. So when you think about this metaphor they give you, it's not only a metaphor, it's an energetic imprint of a memory of your soul, perhaps another moment in time in which we were all gathering together as well. Okay.
Very nice. Thank you for that. And yes, when Janine and I were debriefing on your reading, she was explaining that too, that since the reading on the Saturday, it kept hitting her from different perspectives on a deeper level every day, to where she was getting maybe a cleaner throughput to connect a lot of the dots that she saw not necessarily connected before, but now she could connect them. Does that make sense, Janine?
Yep.
Over the last couple of days. Okay, very good. It is so heartfelt and touching. Thank you. There's a lot of great comments in the chat, and a lot of people are crying also. Yes, a lot of beautiful energy this evening. I hope we haven't lost Alexandra. She seems to be frozen on the screen there.
Oh, sorry. No.
Okay, you're back. I think it's just the connection is a little bit slow this evening. Yeah, Tracy Ann says, "Yeah, you're making me cry." Quite a few teams in the house this night. Okay, somebody asked Janine in the live chat, which of the session did you take? Was it just the Akashic record or the healing part?
She took the Akashic
the Akashic
I
record.
did yeah, I thought I did the records. Yeah, but it was very healing. Obviously, I haven't cried since the last time I cried on one of these shows.
Okay, very good. Now, I think that's interesting. And what I want to do with this new Beyond Akashic series, once a week here, Alexandra will be coming to you in the community, making these inroads and starting these conversations with you. As she said before, it's not necessarily about booking an Akashic record. It's about opening your heart to this information field. And so Alexandra is going to be trying very hard on a weekly basis through her episodes here on YouTube and on Rumble to open up that information field to everybody who feels guided to watch those episodes and to participate with her in those episodes. In some cases, she might be taking viewer questions from the audience, doing that live. She was very good doing that live with Coco during the interview process, but she might be looking at also different aspects of the evolution of humanity and what we're going through right now, and try to channel with you guys perhaps the navigation tools that we were looking for the time that we find ourselves in now. So I think this Akashic Record show in and of itself will do a good headway into this new field of information, because somebody was asking earlier also, I want to take your take on this, Alexandra. He was asking about the frequency. Oh, Flow Rider. How does one get their frequency to the level needed to access the Akashic records? What would you say to that? That's a very good question also.
When you are not hiding anything from yourself, when you are honest,
authentic,
and it's in the intimacy of your heart where you find that. And you can do it at home, meditating, walking in the forest, talking to yourself.
Right. Beautiful. Okay. So on top of my vision for where I think the Cosmic or the Beyond Akashic show is going to go, what else of you do you want to put in the show, and what do you want to develop in that relationship here on a weekly basis with the community offering that show? What would you say, Alexa?
So thank you. So for the first show, I will be doing a heart ceremony. And that is something that I did in the past with my students when I was teaching channeling, and is to, in a guided channeled meditation, to create a sort of vibrational condition so the person who's watching opens their heart and messages will come. So, for example, I like to do practical stuff. Not only teaching what the Akashic Records are and when were they patent, what year. I prefer to be practical and do actual energy work. So I would be sharing sort of things like the heart ceremony, or how do I cleanse myself in every day before a session and after a session, or talk about energetic hygiene, talk about all the things that I have experienced in my path that have served me and my students in the past. So I want to be very honest with the things that I share, and the people will be learning how to recognize their soul in everything they do. My goal really in my life and in this specific show as well is to be able to enlighten whoever is around, so they remember who they are truly, and they're not scared. They feel powerful, they feel empowered, they feel authentic. Because one of the things that I have understood about the worldwide changes is that the more authentic we are, the more we will evolve as a race. And we have been shut down so much and programmed so much that we think we're authentic, but we have no idea where we're going about authenticity and about why it's important to be authentic. Why it's so important? Because you carry specific tools, specific gifts that are important, and when you take on that, take responsibility of your own role on humanity, nothing will stop us as a collective.
That's beautiful. And I'm trying to remember which guide had told me this maybe 10 years ago about the authenticity, that it was also the stepping stone to humanity being more telepathic and empathic. And that also brings humanity to such another level in terms of not being able to be fooled anymore by all of these matrix of control. So beautifully said. That's wonderful. Alexandra. Tracy Ann says, "Oh my God, JC, between Shannon and now Alexandra, this show is going to expand and assist so many in healing and growing." Yes, that's the whole point of Beyond Mystic on that road to self-mastery. Thank you. I really appreciate that comment. Lakeside Laura says, "Energetic hygiene is so important." Yes. Many of us, when we first start to endeavor and to walk on this path, we're used to the 3D path. And then we might not have the skills to be energetically hygienic moving forward. And we don't know maybe some of the pitfalls that we need to take care of. So thank you, Alexandra, also for sharing some of that wisdom for people who are just now starting on this path. This will be absolutely very helpful as well. So folks, stay tuned. Not sure if this weekend or next weekend here, but we're going to be launching the Beyond Akashic weekly show here with Alexandra. So far, we're looking at Saturdays at 1 p.m. Eastern. Alexandra is in another time zone in Europe right now, and it makes sense so that the European audience can watch her as well during the weekend live for these shows, as well as our audience here in North America. So stay tuned to the schedule page here on Beyond Mystic for more details for the first launch of this show. Tonight, of course, was the introduction with Janine and myself. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us here tonight. So before I finish the show this evening, I guess I want to do two things. I want to ask, okay, so I'm going to ask Alexandra to maybe give a nugget of information or of encouragement or I don't know, like a word of wisdom to bring people on this path to being open to the Akashic and to make that first step. Sometimes it's just, as you said, it might be a poem, it might be an analogy, it might be a story. I just want you to download something right now to give something in a packet of information that makes sense, that will really galvanize this audience and the audience who are going to watch this on playback to really attune to this mission here of opening up the Akashic for the betterment of humanity. What would you say to the audience for them to take their first step? How would you encourage that?
So the first thing I like to say is that you are not alone. You have never been alone. It is impossible to be alone. You have been guided, and not only guided, you're here on a mission. And when you connect with your soul, either with the Akashic Records or with any other way you connect with your soul, your life becomes a movie that you create yourself. So you discover your life purpose and get invigorating energy, true meaningful relationships, true meaningful work, job, situations. Your life becomes more meaningful. And the way they show me life is a mandala. Everybody is a mandala. You can't understand the whole mandala at once. You are shown specific shapes, colors, sides of the mandala. So you learn to master every little corner. So for whoever feels like, I don't know, this is a bit weird, I'm scared, should I do it? I only want to say the energy speaks for itself. I don't have to convince anything with any sort of words. You will feel it, and you will know when is the moment to do an Akashic Records session or when is the moment to do a healing. Um, if you have any questions that you feel that you want to ask on Saturday, you can ask them on the chat, and then I will read them. We can talk about it and create a little bit more of a sort of community that makes you feel safe, protected, and makes you feel that you're in the right path if you're doubtful about a session.
Beautiful, beautiful. That thank you, Alexandra. I really appreciate that. Janine, can we ask you also, you having done your first reading and the tremendous impact it's had already in the first 2 days or 3 days of decoding some of this language, share from the heart where you think people should give this a shot and give Alexandra a shot. But then also let's look at the universal guidance as to why perhaps we should all get on this path. Janine.
Wow. So I was gifted that reading so I could understand how Alexandra reads. So I just want to thank Alexandra for that time. It was such well spent time for me. Still a processing, which is amazing. You know, you had a good session with somebody when you're thinking about it days later. And it's still having some profound effects. So that's really exciting, and also keeps coming back. Like you can always, for me, when it's a good reading, it'll come back up when I need to know. So that's exciting. And what was I supposed to be talking about right now?
well, that's the thank you. But why do you think also the audience members might want to connect with Alexandra to get on this path also and open up this energy field for themselves?
Yeah, I think it the heart opening part sort of snuck up on me. Yeah, and like I said, I had just gotten up on a Saturday morning, and I really didn't know what to expect, and I didn't. And so, if you need that, like we all do, and we just forget that we do that nourishment. So it's kind of like Earth Mother love, and I feel like it was coming from all of those guides. And maybe you'll get something else from it because your guides might speak a different way to you, right? Everybody's gonna, but I feel like it was so individually suited to what I needed. So how could that not be a good idea for people, right? And you're going along in this crazy world that we're in, and we need the input, you guys. Like, oh my goodness, we're trying to navigate this craziness, and it just gives you like a sense of grounding where, okay, it's all kind of supposed to be whatever's happening. Like I got this thing I can hang on to now because I understand my kids better. First of all, I understand I've been weaving this for lifetimes. Like I got my book of Merlin. I remember. Oh yeah,
You're a happy camper.
go back to my book of Merlin. Oh yeah, that's what I'll do. You know what I mean? Yeah. No, it gives you a place to rest for a bit and get replenished. Yeah.
I don't think you can top that, but do you want to also maybe do a 3-card pull
Sure.
to get
With the
additional
universe
insights from universe? Yeah, okay, that was beautiful, Jenny. Thank you for sharing that. Just on a quick note, I'm seeing quite a few bookings coming through. Seagrass just says, "Hey JC, I just booked, and the coupon code did in fact work, so it's working." So again, guys, it's Beyond Mystic in one word. It could be a distributed server issue. Often when we launch very quickly and a lot of people are hitting the server at the same time. Again, don't worry if the coupon code doesn't work. Sarah will refund you.
Try it all caps, somebody was saying.
Yeah, that could work also, but it shouldn't matter, but try it anyways. And like I said, don't worry, Sarah will refund you. And judging by the speed of the bookings going through now, if you want a booking with Alexandra, don't wait too long. It's they're going to book up very fast here. But of course, you can also ask questions during her live shows every Saturday and moving forward as well. And hopefully, you will be part of those conversations moving forward. Okay, Janine.
Remember those 2 cards that were in the reading when we looked at the blue light?
Yeah.
Okay, here they are again.
The wake up
So
call again. Yeah.
I feel like for everybody now, so that blue light might be representing all of those guides that are just standing on, like, on the ready. And then see that Ace of Swords there? Yeah, it's like it's just a timing thing, right? Because we're in this huge pivotal time in our whole experience here in the community we're in and just in the world right now. And I feel like a lot of people are getting discouraged and disappointed. This will give you a little substance to finish this crazy ride we're on together.
I'm excited. Again, I have to say, been looking for an Akashic reader for quite some time. I want to thank, yes, Alexandra, for one, giving the time for the interview, going through the process, giving a lot of your time and your energy for Coco during that process on a personal level. I know she very much appreciated it. And also thank you, Alexandra, for giving your time to Janine so that she can also share in your amazing talent. So big thank you, and thank you for being here tonight. And as the audience members are echoing in the live chat, thank you for your integrity and your loving energy this evening in the chat. I think it goes a long way, as Janine said, to set the stage, not just for the personal readings, but for this communication and for strengthening this communication now for humanity going forward with the Akashic Record. So big thank you for being here tonight. And I wish you all of the best. And, I'm excited to see the evolution of the Beyond Akashic and the Akashic healing sessions also moving forward. So, folks, thank you for joining us this evening. Merci, Janine. Thank you, Janine, also for being such a good sport. I know some of that was not easy to share, and you're just so wonderful, and people love you in the chat, Janine, as well. So thank you, both of you, for your time, and thank you, everyone, for joining us this evening. Thank you for all the positive comments. And